Hello, my name is Jitterz and welcome back to a brand new series of mine called Why You Should Play. In this series, I plan to go through every class of agent currently in Valorant, talking about what they do, their role in a team comp, and what important skills you can learn by playing agents in that role. The goal of this series is to try to convince some of you to try out some of the other roles in the game, as well as give you a general guideline to follow so that you can hopefully find the most success playing these new roles. Quick disclaimer before I start, this video will be a bit generalized, but I'll try to use as many specific examples as I can to help get my points across. So without further ado, I'm gonna start off this series by talking about one of my favorite classes, Sentinels. There are currently 3 Sentinels in the game, Cypher, Killjoy, and Sage. In Valorant, Sentinels are the heart of any defense. They're the best class at holding down sites in the game, and not having one can make playing defense feel like an uphill battle sometimes. One defining characteristic that separates Sentinels from other classes is their ability to put down util that can get them information that lasts pretty much indefinitely. Examples of this are Cypher's trips, Killjoy's turret or alarm bot, and even Sage's wall. This gives them a unique advantage of not needing to actually be on a site to get information or defend it. Sage can wall off a choke point and rotate knowing enemies can't get through without shooting it. Cypher can put down trips to let you know if an enemy is crossed through. And Killjoy can put down a turret that goes off if an enemy crosses its line of sight. This unique characteristic can allow them to get information very safely in situations where other agents would have to peek an angle to do the same thing. So now that I've kind of explained what a Sentinel is, I think it's time I start talking about their main job in a team comp. As I've said before, Sentinels are the heart of any defense. Because of this, they're usually the defensive anchor on one of the sites. Well, what is an anchor? The official definition is to play on a site as a defender as to stall a push by the attackers, to buy time to allow teammates to rotate to the site to help defend. Think of an anchor as the dedicated person to hold down a site. As an anchor, you're going to be the last one to leave a site and rotate over to help another area of the map. And if an enemy team ever decides to push your site, you need to try to slow their push as much as possible to stall for your teammates to rotate. Whenever I play Sentinels, I usually have one of 2 to 3 goals in mind when I play on defense. I either try to stop a push entirely and force the enemy team to rotate, I try to get at least 2 kills on site before I die, or I have a setup ready to make retaking my site much easier. For the first goal, usually you stop a push after stalling for long enough. Sentinels have util like Sage's slow orbs, Killjoy's mollies, or even Cypher's cages that enemies really don't like to push through. This util can be nice for setting up kills, but sometimes just forcing a push back where the enemy team used a lot of util can be big and around. For the goal of getting 2 kills before dying, I think it's pretty straightforward, but generally this will happen when you play somewhere on site where escaping isn't really feasible. Examples of this could be like playing inside tube on B side of Bind, or playing on metal on C side of Haven. You're not going to be able to really escape in these positions, and if an enemy team does push you, I try to be good for at least 2, otherwise your team's going to be going for a 4v4 retake, which is usually not in their favor. Finally, a retake setup is when as a Sentinel you play off of a site, but put your util down in a way that makes retaking that site much easier. This can be something like using a Cypher cam to find where enemies are playing, or a Killjoy ultimate to clear a site. This is not usually my go-to strategy, but I still sometimes do this. Specific situations where I use a retake setup are if my team is losing on defense, I might have them stack another site to have a better chance of winning. One setup I use for Killjoy on A side of Haven is where I put an alarm bot in hell along with a molly, as well as a molly on default. This helps on retakes since my team won't need to clear hell if my alarm bot didn't go off, and the molly on default can help stall the plant. Another situation where playing for a retake is a good strategy is when you have something like a Killjoy ult available. Especially on specific sites like Ascent or Bind where the ult can really force enemies really far off the point. Playing a retake with this ultimate can be round winning. Now that I've talked about the role of a Sentinel on defense, I think it's time to talk about what their job is on offense. This is I think where a lot of people kind of get confused, especially in lower elos. The first job of a Sentinel is to be a team's lurker. Sentinels are great as lurkers because their util isn't really necessary for site executes. When lurking, you should be trying to do one of a few things. You can be quiet and try to catch enemies on a rotate for a free kill. You can relay information to your team to let them know if it's a good idea to rotate towards you. Or you can make some noise on the other side of the map to help slow rotations and make your team's site execute easier. Now, you don't want to lurk every single round since that can make you predictable, which is why sometimes you should be pushing with your team. When pushing with your team, your goal is to hold down flanks and to help lock down a site for post plant. Agents like Cypher and Killjoy can put down a trip or a turret to alert them of enemy flanks. And when it comes to locking down sites for post plant, Killjoy can put down her alarm bot and mollies on the bomb to waste time. And Sage can wall off an entrance or throw slows to slow down retakes. They might not have the best util for pushing onto a site, but once your team has the site and the bomb is down, you're effectively playing defense. which again is where Sentinels can really shine. And that's all I had to say for the job of a Sentinel. As you can see, like any other role in the game, they're very important to a team comp. But my goal with these videos is not just to explain what these agents can do, but also the important skills you can practice and learn by playing them. The first skill you can learn by playing a Sentinel is getting information and knowing how to play off of it. Sentinels are great at teaching you this skill because their util is designed for info gathering, and they don't really have the greatest util for helping them in 1v1s. There are agents in every other role that have util like flashes, blinds, and stuns that make it easier for them to win their 1v1s. But Sentinels for the most part are just playing off of information. Cypher can use his cam to find where someone's playing, but he still needs to play smart if he wants to outplay them and increases his chances of winning. And Killjoy is similar, where she can peek off her turret or alarm bot, which is definitely easier than Cypher, but still requires an understanding of how to use that information to your advantage. Where an agent like Phoenix or Reyna can just throw out a flash and peek off of it for easy kills. And don't get me wrong, you can use these abilities to get information, but I feel like especially at lower elos, these abilities that are easier to use can sometimes be a crutch for players and stop them from improving as they rely too much on them. Now imagine a world where your average duelist main learns how to play off of information and knows how to reposition the way a Sentinel has to. That would be genuinely scary. The second skill I think players can learn from playing Sentinels is how to do an effective lurk. I talked about how lurking is something Sentinels are supposed to do on attack, but it isn't as easy as it sounds. It's very easy to bait your teammates and do nothing while lurking. You need to practice your timings on your lurks to get the most value out of them. There's also a communication element to lurking as well that you'll need to improve. Something as simple as telling your team that you plan to lurk for a round, as well as communicating what's happening on your side of the map. These skills aren't natural to everybody, they require practice, and as you play agents like Sentinels more, you'll slowly start to improve as a lurker. And finally, the last skill you'll learn is how to hold down a site properly. This is again, not as easy as it sounds. Just because you're playing a Sentinel doesn't automatically mean you're gonna get 2 free kills around on defense. There's a lot that can go wrong. You need to learn how to change your setups in order to catch enemies off guard when they push you, as well as how to reposition yourself. You also need to learn the timings for activating your abilities like a Killjoy Molly or a Cypher Cage to get the most value. As an anchor, you'll also need to learn how to be patient and know when it's time to finally rotate. So many players leave their sites way too early and rotate off before they should. As the Sentinel, you need to be able to trust your 3 to 4 teammates on the other site enough to hold down the other side of the map for you. When you rotate as a Sentinel, it should really only be after your team either kills an enemy with the bomb on site or the enemy team starts planning. And finally, as a Sentinel, you need to be able to know when it's time for you to switch sites. So many times have I seen Sentinels, myself included, just play the same site every single round on defense, and then the team just pushes the opposite site every single round and there's nothing they can do. By knowing when to switch up the site you're playing on, you can catch the enemy team off guard and potentially get free round wins off of it. That's all for this video about why you should play Sentinels. I hope everything I talked about in this video was clear and that I was able to get all my points across. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new and you want to see more videos like this, please leave a like, it really helps out a lot. Also, if there's anything you agree or disagree with me on, please feel free to leave a comment letting me know. And if you're interested, consider checking out my Twitch at twitch.tv/JitterzVal, where I stream every Saturday from 2 to 6 p.m. EST. Finally, don't forget to subscribe for more Valorant related content.